2023 is almost over. Now let's take a look at my top 25 best New Balances of 2023. I feel like in general, 2023 for sneakers had a lot of solid releases across various brands, and there weren't just a few hyped releases that stole the show for the entire year like the past few years. And that definitely goes for New Balance. There were a plethora of GRs and a lot of different types of collabs from various collaborators, and this year was pretty hard to choose, but I definitely narrowed it down to 25 awesome New Balances that I really liked over the year. Starting off the list at number 25 is the Johnny 1906R collaboration in the blazing yellow colorway. I unfortunately wasn't able to pick up this collaboration, but when the collab was first revealed and even after it sold out, this shoe stuck with me as a very loud and striking collab. It's very loud, but there's nothing too special about it other than the fact that it's just all bright yellow, and that's what I really like about it. The shade of yellow is just so wild and crazy, and I love the contrasting black outline around the shoe. Coming in at number 24 is the 580 in the washed burgundy colorway. This is one of many solid 580 GR colorways that released this year. The 580 was definitely one of my favorite silhouettes of the year. I really like how it made a big comeback and had a lot of great GR colorways that were readily available and pretty good quality for their prices. This colorway in particular is pretty simple, but I just really gotta give it to the shade of burgundy. It's on the darker side, and I like how it contrasts with the light brown in the mesh areas. Burgundy is one of my favorite colors for sneakers, and I think this shade works really well on the 580 model, and it has nice contrasting accent colors in the other panels of the shoe. And coming in at number 23 is the 1906R in the Charlotte Hornets colorway. The official colorway is called Virtual Blue and Prism Purple, but of course a lot of people are calling it the Charlotte Hornets colorway since it matches their team colors. And I gotta say, this colorway works so well on the 1906R model. The light blue and purple on top of the white base just looks so fire. And I think it's a solid, louder colorway, and it especially works well on the 1906R model. And this colorway, like a lot of the GRs on the list, were readily available and available to everyone. And coming in at number 22 is the Teddy Santis 990 V6 in the sulfur and green colorway. I originally did not expect to really like this colorway that much, but after seeing the shade of sulfur yellow suede in hand, it really made me appreciate the colorway that much more, and I really like how it contrasts against the green accents, and I definitely had to add in the green laces. It adds another nice layer of contrast to the shoe. The V6 is a chunkier and louder silhouette, so I think loud colorways really work well on the V6, so this was definitely a favorite of mine when it came to the 990 V6 GRs. And coming in at number 21 is the Teddy Santis 990 V4 in the limestone and white colorway. This was a rock-solid neutral tone colorway from Teddy Santis, and I think it looks great on the V4. I really love the subtle contrast between the limestone, the white leather, and the light brown in the back. It's definitely one of my favorites during the fall season. And coming in at number 20 is the 580 in the Sea Salt and Night Watch green colorway. This was one of the first 580 GRs that really made me fall in love with the model during 2023. At first glance, you could easily confuse this with an ALD collab. I mean, given the colors and the aged midsole, it just looks really good, and add in the fact that it utilizes leather instead of suede, and this leather is also pretty solid for its price. I mean, again, it looks like it could be an ALD collab, but it's not. It's just a GR that was readily available and at a great price tag. Quality of the materials were really good for its price. The green nubucks utilized on the shoe just feel really good. The leather, although it's definitely not the highest quality leather, feels pretty solid for its lower end price tag, and I just really like how the colorway works. It's a very simple and clean colorway with nice contrast between the white, green, and the aged midsole. And coming in at number 19 is the Made in UK 576 in the orange and purple colorway. When this colorway was first revealed, I knew I had to have it. It was definitely a wild and loud colorway, and when it finally released on End, I knew I had to grab it, and I'm really glad that this was my first ever pair of 576s. is. The 576 is essentially a more premium version of the 574. Obviously, it's made in England instead of made in China. This colorway in particular utilizes hairy orange suede, which is an awesome touch, and I really like how it contrasts against the purple, and even with the pop of highlighter yellow in the back tab. I mean, come on, this shoe is just so loud and so wild, and it's just a very fire colorway. And coming in at number 18 is the Teddy Santis 996 in the Pink Haze colorway. You guys hear me say it all the time, I'm gonna say it for the millionth time. New Balance always kills it with pink, and this 996 from Teddy Santis is no exception. I mean, come on, look at the pink hairy suede. It just works so well. It just looks so good, and you gotta love how it contrasts against the off-white mesh. And I really like the addition of the gray suede in the end logo and ankle area. It's simple, but utilizes high-quality hairy suede in a very fire shade of pink. And coming in at number 17 is the Teddy Santis 990 V6 in the sepia with orange colorway. This may have to be one of my last pickups of the year. I mean, it's the 990 V6 in an orange colorway. I've been wanting a V6 in an orange colorway, and this colorway is just very fire. I love how the orange is bright but not too bright, and it also has some good contrasting neutral tones, so I feel like you could wear this shoe year round. It's a pretty solid colorway for the 990 V6, and it's the first 990 V6 in orange, so it might have to be my last pickup of the year. And coming in at number 16 is the Hype DC collaboration on the 2002R in the 25th anniversary Native Dynamics colorway. This collaboration celebrates Hype DC's 25th anniversary, and it is a rock solid colorway on the 2002R. You got a plethora of hairy suede, and you get pops of blue and pink. I like to call it a low-key heat type of shoe since it's a mostly neutral base with pops of bright colors, and I think the collab is very fire. And coming in at number 15 is the Size 990 V3 collaboration in the cream orange colorway. This was one of the last 990 V3 collaborations before the V3 was put back in the vault, and I gotta say, Size absolutely killed it with this collab. It really just comes down to the very fire shade of orange cream utilized on the shoe. There's nothing too special about it. I feel like the shade of orange just speaks for the shoe, and I really like how Size was able to incorporate their signature orange on the V3. And coming in at number 14 is the Teddy Santis 990 V4 in the Marblehead and Indigo colorway. This was by far my favorite release from Grey Day 2023. This same colorway dropped on 4 different models. It dropped on the V6, the 996, and the 998, all of which look pretty good, but I feel like it worked best on the 990 V4. I really like the contrast of the hairy grade suede with the accents of the indigo around the shoe. Of course, I had to swap out with the indigo laces to add yet another layer of contrast. This was a great release, and overall Grey Day 2023 was a big step up from last year's Grey Day. And coming in at number 13 is the YCMC 990 V3 collaboration in the Blaze Your Own Trail colorway. First up, I gotta pay my respects to YCMC and their team. It's really unfortunate that they went bankrupt and ceased all their operations. They made a lot of rock solid collaborations with New Balance over the years, and this was definitely a solid collab to end off their run. I am glad to see that the designer of the shoe is still getting his work published with other sneaker retailers, so at least there's that. Moving on to the shoe itself, this collaboration is just really fire. I really love the trail theme. I really love how it's a mostly neutral olive base. Then you get the pop of the purple, the bright orange, and even the teal in the midsole. It reminds me of the 90s trail clothing and aesthetic, which I think they absolutely nailed it in terms of the design and colorway. By far the best lace option was the orange rope laces. It was the most unique and loudest option, so I had to install them onto the shoe. And another little detail I like is that they swapped out the 990 branding with an embroidered 990 instead of the usual print. The collaboration theme is executed perfectly with the colorway, and it's definitely a great last hurrah for YCMC. And coming in at number 12 is the Teddy Santis 990 V6 in the burgundy and tan colorway. There's nothing too much to say about the shoe other than the fact that the V6 is one of my favorite New Balance models. Burgundy is one of my favorite colors for shoes, so a burgundy V6 was definitely a must cop for me. The shade of burgundy is very fire. It's like a red wine colorway, and then you get some nice subtle accents with the tan 3M in the back, as well as a darker kind of like chocolate brown nubuck around the shoe. I mean, it's a burgundy V6, I had to get it. And coming in at number 11 is another Teddy Santis shoe, this time the V3 in the tan and green colorway. This shoe released earlier on in the year and has definitely held up against the newer releases. This was definitely one of my favorite neutral tone pairs of the year, especially when it came to the Teddy Santis releases. I especially love how it utilizes nubuck as the base of the shoe, and it also utilizes canvas instead of mesh. I really love when GRs utilizes different materials in place of the traditional suedes and meshes, and I feel like the material changeup is very fitting for this colorway. All the materials feel really high quality in hand, and I feel like this GR blows a lot of the neutral tone and simple collaborations out of the water. And we've made it to the top 10 of the list. Coming in at number 10 is the Action Bronson 990 V6 in the Lapis Lazuli colorway. This was one of two Action Bronson 990 V6 collaborations. The first one, the Baklava colorway, is probably the more popular and striking of the two collabs. I personally didn't care too much for it. I mean, it was a loud colorway, so you'd expect I like it, but what I kind of didn't like about it was the panel of brown suede. I feel like it threw off the shoe, and overall it was pretty random. But the Lapis Lazuli colorway, on the other hand, was definitely a must cop for me. It's a very loud colorway, but all of the colors work really well and is actually pretty wearable. The top mostly looks like a simple navy 990 V6, but when you look closer, you got contrasting tones of teal nubuck as well as baby blue on the tongue. And what I really like about both collabs is the rope style laces in multicolor. And then probably the most striking part of the collab is the very fire bright yellow midsole with contrasting teal and gum outsole. This collab is very loud and very striking, but also very wearable at the same time. That's why it makes it into the top 10 of my list. And coming in at number 9 is the Bodega collaboration on the 610 in the Trail Less Taken colorway. I think Bodega absolutely killed it with this collaboration. I feel like the 610 was the perfect model for Bodega to collaborate on, given their past collaborations. This collaboration is very complex. I mean, the 610 model overall is pretty complex, and it has a wide variety of panels you can change materials on. I think Bodega killed it. I mean, you got both suedes and nubucks as well as blue ripstop, and then you get different colored lace eyelets and various embroideries around the shoe. That's purple and orange. You get a wide variety of colors, especially on the inside of the shoe. As weird as this sounds, I kind of like the medial side of the shoe better than the lateral side of the shoe because it has brighter colors, especially with the purple end logo and this pop of yellow in the back. I also really like the addition of the elastic rope laces with the lace locks. It's a very fitting choice for a hiking model, and especially the collab being trail themed. I mean, this shoe is just so wild, and I think Bodega chose all the right colors for the 610. Coming in at number 8 is the Palace collaboration on the 991 in the Taos and Taupe colorway. I really like this collaboration for two big reasons. First up, it utilizes special and unique materials, especially with this interesting leather material at the mudguard and back heel area of the shoe. It has an interesting texture and feels really soft and solid in the hand. You also get this special ripstop nylon in areas where mesh is typically found. And then overall, the colorway is just very fire and reminds me of retro hiking colors. I think Palace did an excellent job with their collaboration on the 991. And coming in at number 7 is the Teddy Santis 990 V4 in the Olive and Incense colorway. When I first saw this colorway at the beginning of Teddy Santis Season 4, I knew I had to have it. I mean, this shade of olive, it's more of a matcha shade, and it works really well with the contrasting incense accents around the shoe, and it's just a very fire neutral tone shoe from Teddy Santis. And coming in at number 6 is the Teddy Santis 990 V2 in the magenta and yellow colorway. It's no surprise that this shoe is up high on the list. This came out earlier on in the year and has been a favorite even with all of the newer releases. I mean, come on, the shoe is just so loud and wild, and the contrast between the magenta and the purple and the pop of yellow is just so fire. And it's on one of my favorite 990 versions, the 990 990 V2. The V2 has since then been put back into the vault, but it was really cool to see a very fire loud colorway drop at the end of its run. And starting off the top 5 of my list is my favorite collaboration of the year, and that is the Kith Frank Lloyd Wright collaboration on the 998 in the Chutney colorway. I really love the inspiration behind the collaboration. It's based on a diagram from Frank Lloyd Wright's architecture, and the colors just work so well on the 998. It's a relatively neutral tone shoe, but you get a nice pop of chutney in the front, and it works well with the green. A few days ago, I realized that this is a surprisingly festive shoe and works well for Christmas, which is also a nice bonus. You got a colorway that works really well. It's on a special cut of the 998. You got quality materials and some nice little small details around the collab. That's why this was by far my favorite collaboration of 2023. And coming in at number 4 is the Teddy Santis 990 V2 in the brown with tan colorway. This is by far my favorite neutral tone GR of the year. Again, it goes to one of the earlier releases of the year. This released earlier on in 2023 and has held up against the competition. There were so many neutral tone releases, both GRs and collabs, that released as the year went on, but this shoe still stood out amongst the crowd. I mean, the colorway just speaks for itself. You got a variety of contrasting neutral tones. You got a really nice panel of nubuck in the front instead of suede. I really like that detail. You got a pop of hairy suede in the back as well. This colorway has been a favorite of mine ever since it originally dropped at the beginning of the year, and I think the best way I could describe it is that it's a neutral tone shoe, but it's also a little complex at the same time because of the various materials and the contrasting colors. It's a neutral tone shoe that will kind of stand out despite it being a neutral tone, if that makes any sense. Regardless, it's very deserving of a top spot in my list. And coming in at number 3 and number 2 is the 580 and 550 in the Boro Pack colorway. I know this pack was just recently released, so there might be a bit of recency bias for me, but I mean, this pack just really stood out in my opinion. And the fact that it was a GR, I mean, just come on. The shoe is made out of various materials, like you get denims, you get canvases, you get a variety of hand-stitched accents like at the toe box and in the upper lace eyelets. Got the exposed foam tongue. Textiles are dyed in a variety of blues. It's a very complex shoe. It utilizes special materials. You get small little details around the shoe, and it looks great on both the 580 and the 550. One thing I will say is that I refuse to call the colorway underrated. You might think it's underrated, but I can't really call it underrated when it was only Asia exclusive and not too many could have access to it. If it was a very wide release and people were still sleeping on it, then I would have called it underrated. But unfortunately, it was Asia exclusive only for both colorways. Thankfully, I was able to get the 580 for a pretty good price on the aftermarket. As I said in my original review of the Boro Pack 580, I feel like this GR pack blows a lot of the collaborations out of the water. I mean, some of the collabs this year didn't even utilize special colors, let alone special and unique materials. Meanwhile, the Boro Pack utilizes a plethora of special materials and a variety of contrasting blue tones to make the shoe just stand out in a crowd of releases. I mean, I really can't say the praises of this pack enough. I mean, it's crazy that this pack was just a GR and not some special collab with like a Japanese designer brand or sneaker boutique. And finally, we've made it to the number 1 spot of my top 25 New Balances of 2023. Like the last few years, I've been wearing my number 1 shoe throughout the whole video, and when it came down to it, like the previous years, it came down to a shoe that not only did I really like, but was a shoe that I would constantly pick just to wear regardless of my outfit, regardless of the season. It's just a shoe that I couldn't stop wearing and I would never be against wearing. My number 1 New Balance for 2023 goes to the Teddy Santis 990 V6 in the limestone and magenta colorway. Teddy Santis and New Balance absolutely killed it with this V6 colorway. The best way to describe this colorway is that it's both striking and clean at the same same time. Whenever I wear this shoe, it's a head-turning colorway. I always get a lot of compliments and comments on the shoe. It really stands out. The shades of purple and magenta are very loud and striking, and it contrasts really well with the neutral limestone base. I mean, the colorway just speaks for itself. Like I said, it's a head turner. You guys know I love the head turning colorways. It's very loud and striking, but it's not completely random. As I said during the build up for the shoe, this colorway was a shoe that I would just grab constantly without second thought because I love the colorway so much. And I feel like I could easily build an outfit around it, whether I have it as the centerpiece of my outfit or I have it complement an outfit that also had purple in it. This colorway is just so fire and is definitely deserving of my #1 spot on my top 25 of the year. And that's gonna wrap up my top 25 New Balances of 2023. It was quite a year. There were a lot of great New Balances that weren't on this list. I'm sure a lot of your lists are completely different from mine and from other sneaker reviewers, which is another reason why I thought 2023 was a pretty solid year for New Balance and really for all sneaker brands. Let me know what some of your guys' favorite New Balances were in the comments down below. So that's gonna do it for this video. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Follow me on my socials. Check out the Intelligence site for more New Balance content and guides. If you really love the video, please consider leaving a super thanks in the tip jar below. And thanks for watching.